Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. In today's video we're going to be taking a look at this, which is the newly released Legend Series Infinity Saga Avengers Endgame Nano Gauntlet. Now this particular piece has been one that I've been looking forward to ever since Hasbro officially unveiled this, as this is in fact the first Nano Gauntlet that they've produced which can in fact actually snap the fingers. Of course, previously released we got the Thanos Gauntlet and then the Hulk Nano Gauntlet, and whilst those pieces were awesome, were massive, highly detailed, and of course had those really cool articulated fingers, none of them could in fact actually do what the Nano Gauntlet or the Infinity Gauntlet was designed to do, and that's actually snap the fingers and erase or bring back half the universe, whereas this particular piece can in fact do that, and it's actually incredibly ambitious and has turned out so much better than I was expecting. Now all of the Infinity Stones are also removable, but of course we'll touch base more with that in just a second. You can see here for the box art we've got an amazing image of the actual product itself with all of the LEDs on the Infinity Stones actually illuminated. You can see here that we have got the snapping feature in fact actually demonstrated. As we spin our attention here to the top, we've got another really cool piece of artwork of the product, and then as we just spin the packaging here all the way around, you can see here at the back it does in fact demonstrate that you can indeed in fact remove every single Infinity Stone, which is super awesome. So without further ado, let's crack this open and take a look at the actual Nano Gauntlet itself, the device which ultimately brought the demise of Tony Stark. And so here we have the Nano Gauntlet snapped out of the packaging and actually looking really awesome, and the functionality of this too is actually pretty cool. Now when this was first unveiled, I like many believe this to be mainly made out of rubber, but I can assure you that there are in fact a lot more plastic components to this than meets the eye. Now if we take a look here at the details, you can see all of the Infinity Stones clearly displayed. Of course we'll touch base with their individual features later on in the review, but you can see that in regards to detail as well as overall design, this is much more accurate to the gauntlet that Iron Man actually sports towards the end of the movie. It's a lot more streamlined, a lot more smaller when in comparison to the Hulk gauntlet, of which I'll bring out a comparison with later on in the review, but you can see the detail just looks absolutely fantastic. In my opinion, this is probably one of the best gauntlets that Hasbro have put out so far. You can see even here for these rubberized fingers, despite them being made out of a completely different material when in comparison to the rest of the sculpt, I think the detail is just as good, as so is the colour of red plastic that they've cast them out of. You can also see some really nice golden as well as gunmetal highlights. I love this cybernetic detailing that we've got going all the way throughout the gauntlet. You can see here the actual holsters with the Infinity Stones placed within them, all picked out in a super nice gunmetal, as well as that huge Mind Stone which looks awesome. And as we just flip here to this side, you can once again see more of that gunmetal detailing as well as some extraordinary detail going on for the thumb. Now if you actually turn this here to the interior, once again they haven't skimped out at all, so you can see the actual back of the fingers completely sculpted, and they have indeed actually sculpted a repulsor. Now I personally would have loved Hasbro to have taken some creative license and actually found a way for this to illuminate and make noises, especially considering that one of the main points of articulation that this glove has is that it can in fact actually arch forwards and backwards, much like Iron Man would do when he would use his repulsor effect. It's not a massive deal breaker considering that we never actually see him use this in the movie, but once again it would have been cool if this could have in fact actually illuminated. You can see here for the rest of the gauntlet, it's merely been cast out this super nice metallic red, very similar to what we saw with the previous Hulk gauntlet, and overall I just think it looks super impressive. Now one of the major design differences between this when in comparison to the previous ones is that we don't actually have any of the strings inside to articulate the fingers, so now you simply do have to just push your hand all the way in and your fingers will in fact groove into the actual fingers of the glove itself, which I think is really cool. So you can see here I am able to articulate this back and forth as well as move the fingers. I'm trying my best not to set off the lights and sounds just yet, so I just very quickly want to demonstrate that you can see here you can indeed actually articulate the fingers using your own fingers, so no strings are in fact required. But turning to the main feature of this particular piece, the lights and sounds. Now in order to actually activate the gauntlet, you can of course insert your hands, articulate the fingers, and it will naturally come on, or what I personally like to do is push the Mind Stone. You'll get this awesome cybernetic power-up sound as if though the stones are all interlocking with one another and the entire glove will begin to illuminate. So let's of course demonstrate that feature. So you can hear there that you get that awesome sparking sound effect, which is by far one of my favourite sounds this glove emits, and each and every one of the Infinity Stones does in fact illuminate, which looks awesome. So you can see there the Mind Stone, super vibrant yellow. You can see all of the various other stones, of which I don't know every individual name, as of course the movie came out a very long time ago, but of course we've got here the Time Stone, and you can see the rest of the stones do in fact illuminate their respected colours in order to match with the movie. Now if you do remove any of the stones, it will in fact cause the glove to make a different sound effect, and that particular holster will in fact power down, which I thought was really awesome. So for example, let's remove here the Mind Stone. You can see how that cavity has completely powered down, and you will in fact get a really cool sound effect. The same applies to any of the stones, all of them are removable. So you can see there, you can literally take each and every one of them out and the holster will in fact power down. Now all of them are removed. I shan't do it as it does take quite a bit of time to actually match them up, as all of them are specifically designed for a slot. So you can see here how we've got this particular shape. It is in fact designed to match up with this. So just to demonstrate how it looks when in fact actually reattached, you can see how that specific stone will begin to illuminate once more, and of course you'll get a really cool sound effect. And I love how the stones are in fact magnetic. They hold in there incredibly well, but are very easy to actually remove if you wish. And of course we'll bring this one back in, just attach this. And one thing also which is worth mentioning is that you actually cannot perform the snap without having all of the stones actually attached, which once again I think is a really nice attention to detail. So I'll just very quickly demonstrate that. If you do in fact actually try to do the snap without the full set of stones, it just will not do it at all, which I think is really, really awesome. And as we just spin it over here to this side and you do attach the final stone, you can hear that once more you'll get this super awesome power-up sound. All of the Infinity Stones will begin to glitch and illuminate, and of course you'll get that almost chime effect to give you the impression that they have in fact ignited and are ready for use. And turning to this glove's main feature, that actually being the ability to snap. If we just push our fingers in there and create a pose, something like this, and actually click, you can hear how you will in fact actually get the sound, which is very authentic to the movie, and the Infinity Stones will begin to pulsate for a few seconds. Now one thing which I must mention is that I personally don't find the sound effects on this particular gauntlet to be as loud in comparison to the previous ones, and that is quite a shame, especially considering that there is a huge speaker hole here. I'm not entirely sure whether or not it's just down to the simple fact that the way it's been designed, the speaker is slightly masked when in comparison to the previous gauntlets, or maybe they just haven't used as much of a powerful speaker when in comparison to those previous ones. And considering this is the snap, you really would wish for a much more impactful sound effect. So I really do wish the sounds were slightly louder on this. It's not terrible by any stretch of the imagination, and it's probably coming across a little more quieter on camera than it is in person, but I can assure you that it is not as loud as some of the other gauntlets that we've gotten. And just to show you how that looks here from the back perspective when in fact actually snapping, you can see how you will in fact get a slight variation of the actual snap sound effect, and you can see once again a little bit of a variation in regards to the setup of the lights. But that is essentially the gauntlet in a nutshell. Now if we touch base with some of the individual features of the stones, each of them have their own respective sound effects, which I think is really cool. So if we just push here the time stone, you can hear how you'll get this almost failed snap effect. That's at least what it sounds to me. It sounds as if though the gauntlets tried to power up and then has in fact failed in doing so. Now some of these sounds are a direct carryover from the previous Nano Gauntlet. Personally, I don't really have much of an issue with that, considering that they're all very similar, especially when in comparison to the movie. But if we just push this one, you can once again see that all of the Infinity Stones will indeed begin to illuminate, and you'll get this very awesome chime effect to actually give you the impression that they have in fact ignited into the gauntlet itself. If we push this one, once again we get this really awesome power up sound. And then if we push this one, you do get what appears to be an actual snapping sound effect. I'm not entirely sure as to what that is supposed to be, but to me at least it does sound as if though it has in fact snapped. And then if we push this one here, you will in fact get yet again another power up sound, but at least to me towards the end of the sound effect it does appear as if though the gauntlet has in fact failed in doing so. And then if you push the Mind Stone, you will get there an actual power-up sound once more. Now, if I just very quickly demonstrate some of the different variations of sounds you get if you remove the stones, you can see, if we just take this one out, you do get a sound as if though the stone has in fact actually been taken out, and its respective holster will indeed power down. And essentially, that is the Infinity Saga Marvel Legends Iron Man Nano Gauntlet in a nutshell. So overall, it's definitely a really, really awesome piece. I absolutely love the illuminated stones. I really like the fact that these are in fact removable when in comparison to the Infinity Gauntlet, as well as the previous Hulk Nano Gauntlet that we got released. I really love that attention to detail, the fact that they're magnetic. I like the different sound effects that we get when they're removed and of course inserted, and I really like the feature that you can't in fact actually snap your fingers in order to power up the gauntlet without having all of the stones placed. That is super awesome and of course super authentic to the movie. I also think the snapping gesture too is really awesome. One thing that I will mention, however, is that I personally don't believe this gauntlet was designed for comfort. It does really hurt your knuckles to actually snap your fingers in there, and it would have cost them nothing, I don't believe, to in fact actually padded out this interior section. You can see how the entire interior is in fact plastic, and if those black pieces there were made out of a slightly more rubbery material, or if they could have just added some foam, I definitely think that it would have increased enjoyability, as if you were to use this for cosplaying and you were to snap your fingers a lot of times, or even if you were just to wear this casually throughout the day, I definitely think that you would begin to wear the actual gauntlet on your hand and will no doubt actually bruise yourself. So once again, I do wish that maybe that could have been slightly improved, but in regards to a display piece for £100, I think this is really well done, especially for a Hasbro product. As mentioned beforehand, I do in fact actually find this to be their best gauntlet that they've produced so far. But without further ado, let's very quickly compare it to the previous Nano Gauntlet, and then I'll give you some of my final thoughts. So here for a very quick comparison, of course, we've got the Hulk version on the left and the new Iron Man version on the right, and you can see that whilst stone to stone they are pretty much exactly the same in terms of height, the width is drastically different. The Hulk version is a lot thicker, of course, in order to accommodate a bigger character, as it really should be, and considering that the newer Nano Gauntlet is a lot more streamlined, you are in fact actually able to place your own fingers into the glove instead of actually using the mechanical strings that we got on the previous version. I think both of these are exceptional looking display pieces, and in terms of a real life representation, I think the scale may be slightly off. Perhaps the Hulk version should be a little bigger, but of course it was based on the original Infinity Gauntlet, which I believe was more or less exactly the same size as the actual Hulk version. But in my personal opinion, in terms of a display, I definitely think the new Iron Man Nano Gauntlet is the best. I think the overall enjoyability as well as features way surpass the previous version, and overall, if you were given the option between the two, once again, I would definitely recommend the Iron Man version. So, some final thoughts here for the all-new Legends Series Infinity Saga Avengers Endgame Nano Gauntlet. Overall, I think this piece has definitely turned out a lot better than and I'm pretty certain many of you expected. I initially believed this to be a predominantly rubber glove for the most part, but nope, there is in fact a lot of plastic components to this, and it merely is just the fingers and thumbs of which are made out of that rubbery material. I think the attention to detail as well as the paintwork is super awesome, especially for a mass-produced Hasbro item. I really love the features such as the removable Infinity Stones, of which when actually removed and inserted create their own distinctive sound effect, and of course they've all got their own respected colour schemes as well, which also is really cool. I absolutely love that we've finally gotten a Nano Gauntlet or an Infinity Gauntlet in the collection, of which can in fact actually perform the snap. As far as I'm concerned, this is in fact one of the only Nano Gauntlets out there that can in fact actually do the snap, which is really cool. And despite the sound effects perhaps not being as loud as I would like, I still do think that they're really impactful and really do help to in fact actually sell this product on being an accurate piece that both younger collectors and older collectors are absolutely going to love. With all that being said, this piece does in fact retail for £100, of which I definitely think is more than reasonable. If this was given to me before the item went into mass production, the only area which I would really wish to see them improve would be the actual enjoyability of the gauntlet itself. I do think that in regards to comfort, it majorly lacks. The entire interior is made out of plastic, which over time definitely stresses out your knuckles, especially when trying to perform that snap. So if they could have added some foam in the interior, that definitely would have made playability a lot more enjoyable, but that really is just a minor critique for what is otherwise a pretty awesome piece. And in regards to a display piece, this is by far one of the best gauntlets that we've gotten so far. I would love to know down in the comment section below on what you guys think of this particular piece. Shall you be adding it to your collection, or is it in fact an easy miss? I would also love to know down in the comment section below on what you guys thought of the review, and until my next video, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.